Hi, this is the fourth in a series of 5 videos explaining how to make a pair of socks at the same time, one inside the other, like this young woman is doing in this picture, which was taken around 1918. Again, many thanks to the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle for inspiring me to attempt this method and to pass it on to others. This is a pair of socks that I started using regular sock yarn and 2.25 millimeter needles. So that's what it looks like. You can see indeed it is one sock inside of the other. Now for demonstration purposes, I'm using worsted weight yarn, heavier needles, and I'm not actually making a pair of socks. I'm just going through the steps that you would take to construct a pair of socks like these. I'm using opposing colors of yarn so that you can tell what sock is what, the inside sock and the outside sock. Now in this video, we're going to begin knitting the heel flap in short rows, because most basic sock patterns, that's how we make heel flaps. So our first row is going to take half the stitches in this sample. It's going to be however many stitches your pattern says. So if your pattern said 24 stitches, you're going to double that and you're going to do 48 stitches, because remember, you're knitting 2 socks at the same time. So you're going to have to double the number of stitches that you're actually knitting and purling on the other side in order to make your heel flaps. So to begin, we're going to start with a knit row, which is on our stockinette side or outside of our sock. And we're going to slip the first 2 stitches. That's standard for most basic sock patterns. So slip purlwise, tip to tip, slip purlwise, snug them up, because whenever you do that, they sort of come unraveled. Give them a little snug, and we'll snug them up again after we've knit our first stitch. And you might notice that I have a companion here. Her name is Tiffany, and she's being very, very helpful. So we're going to begin by knitting. Notice that my yarn for my outside sock is already in the right position. It's at the back. So I'm going to knit that stitch, and in order to rest, it comes forward, just like knitting the stockinette and the ribbing. I'm going to knit the second stitch of my back sock and leave the yarn at the back. Now, when I'm doing a basic sock pattern, the pattern is knit a stitch, slip a stitch, knit a stitch, slip a stitch. When I'm slipping a knit stitch for the front sock, if I don't want the yarn to wrap around that stitch, I have to move it to the back to slip it and then move it back to the front. When I made this pair of socks, I didn't do that for the first row. And what I ended up with was this lovely design element that you can probably see as I stretch it out, this line across the knit stitches. It's not something that you really want. I call it a design element. Thanks, Bonnie, for that at Beehive. Yeah, very kind of her to call it a design element, because she knew darn well that I would just leave it where it was. Experiments are experiments, and the results don't have to be perfect, especially when we're not painting the Sistine Chapel or something like that. This is finger painting. That's the level of knitting that I'm at, and that's the level of knitting that this video portrays. So we've done a slip, slip, a knit, knit, a slip, and we're going to slip purlwise. We're going to take our yarn to the back and knit, bring it forward to rest, knit the inside or back sock, leave it where it is. To the back to slip, to the front, slip the back sock, to the back to knit the front sock, and to the front to rest. Moving on to our second needle. We just did knit, knit, so we're going to slip. So our yarn needs to be at the back to slip, and then bring it forward, slip the back stock, yarn to the back to knit, snug it up, bring it forward, snug it again, knit, snug it, to the back to slip, bring it to the front, slip, to the back to knit, to the front, knit the back, to the back to slip, to the front to rest, slip, to the back to knit, to the front to rest, and finally to knit. Now we're doing our purl row, so we turn our work. We're still working on these 2 needles to make our heel flaps, generally in a basic pattern. We slip the first 2 stitches, so we'll do that. The yarn is placed where it needs to be automatically. This is now our back sock. This is now our front sock. We slip, slip, and begin. I think I split that. I think I'm going to bring that back and try again. Nope, I didn't. Okay. And then we begin purling. This yarn is already in the right position. We purl and leave the yarn in the right position for the back sock, which used to be the front sock. We bring the yarn forward and purl and bring it to the back to rest. You get the idea, I think. Bring the yarn forward to purl and take it to the back to rest. Really simple. Nothing complicated, nothing special that you need to do that's different from the rest of the sock. And that's it. You have it. You are knitting 2 heel flaps at once. Happy knitting. Knit wherever you are. Share your skills with others. That's how the skill is passed on. And enjoy the peace and quiet that comes with knitting. Bye for now.